I had some lovely, beautiful moments, and I felt so deeply, clearly connected
Mm-hmm.
to the divine in the airport, not on
Yeah.
my phone like I was doing something superhuman. It was
Mhm.
that speaks to me that I need to get off my phone way more. Welcome back to The Intuitive Voice with your hosts, Martha Arnett and
Angela Hebner. Hi, everybody.
Hi, everybody. Today, we have a really juicy topic. We are talking about something that I know nothing about. We are talking about the blocks. What gets in the way of hearing, listening, and trusting your intuition?
Such a good topic. Such a good topic. And I particularly like this one because I think sometimes when you listen to people talk about intuition or, following this different way of being, it sounds like they do it all the time, right? And it's so
Yes.
easy and they just flow with it. And then everybody ends up, or at least I end up saying, what's wrong with me that I can't just do it all the time?
Absolutely.
Yeah. So this episode will dispel that myth and and hopefully, help people
Yes.
find ways to kind of get back in that groove.
That's right. That's right. Because every single human being has blocks to their intuition. And what I was reading something over the weekend, and it said, how do you know if you have intuition? And it was something like, take your fingers and put it on your neck. Do you feel a pulse? If you do, you have intuition.
You have intuition. You are breathing. You are alive. That's great.
That is correct.
I like that.
Isn't that great? And if you are in this is not what I'm adding, and if you are in a physical body, a human form, you are going to have blocks to your intuition.
That's right.
Yes.
That is right.
Yeah.
That is right.
Because the way, Angela, that I think about blocks, and for me, because I'm so body-centered, is I think about blocks if I know that I become less clear in my intuitive channel if I haven't had enough sleep, if I've eaten crappy foods or foods that don't feel good and nourishing to my body, if I haven't had movement that my body wants and needs, or if I have, let's say I have an injury, like get an extra injury, or I have lived with chronic pain for a long time. So I have learned to sort of work around chronic pain, but chronic pain can get in the way, right? Pain can get in the way.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
All the stuff you're saying brings me back to this concept you and I've talked about, this idea that we as humans are part human and part divine. Right. So I talk to my clients about this and it helps me think about it. The space in us that's divine, right, is the thing that brings the intuition in, that brings the creativity, that brings all of the stuff that makes it good to be alive, right? The passion, the life force, all of that. My sense is that's divinely inspired. But it has to come into a human body. The human body, as you talk about, becomes the vessel, becomes the thing. So we're this constellation of both, part human, part divine. And so it's our human parts that tend to end up blocking us.
Absolutely.
Yeah. And so that's okay. Like we learn how to get back in, right, to more balance.
That's right. And we think about frequency, right? We think about the body, like all the physicists and people have talked about this. It's the energy body of a human body is very dense.
Yes.
And right, the connection to this beautiful universal energy, spirit, God, the divine, whatever you want to call it, is a higher frequency. So I spend so much of my time in my life. I always call it inspiration, but really what it is clearing the channel, right?
Yeah.
Raising my frequency, and it can, and so we'll talk about a couple ways that, so listeners can begin to identify those blocks. So a block could be felt in your body, right? Like it could be feeling sleepy or tired or lethargic or whatever it is when your physical body feels off. It can also come in through emotions. Like we're doing construction this morning and I was ticked off about some things and I was storming around and things weren't going as I wanted. And I thought, oh my gosh, I am going to have to spend some time clearing out this, and this came in through emotions, right?
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
emotions are a big one, right? And then I had to spend all this time, because anger for Martha tunes into anger pretty quickly. I then have to like move it through, because my frequency was like going down.
It just gets heavier and heavier.
It gets heavier and heavier, and denser and
Yeah.
denser, and then my connection to my intuition is smaller.
Yes. Yeah. And I think I love that you're bringing in this idea of emotion. I know we talked about that a little bit in the past couple of episodes, this idea of differences between intuition and fear, for example, or intuition and other emotions. I think there's a danger that then emotion gets a bad rap. As though if we're feeling emotion, that's a bad thing. And one of the things I talk to my clients a lot and work on a lot in myself is hearing the message of the emotion, right? Because emotions are part of our humanness, and they're designed, right? They're chemical dumps, neurotransmitter dumps into our bloodstream that help us know whether what think we're seeing and feeling, right, is helpful to us or potentially hurtful to us. And so they're messengers of sorts, right? And anger is such a great one. It is such a fabulous emotion because it's telling us what matters. It's often about a boundary violation or something's not fair. And so one way that we help to move it quicker is to hear the message of the emotion, right? So if the message is boundary violation, well, I need to tell them, the workers to not ring the bell between this time and this time, or
that's right,
to set some sort of a boundary. And when we stop fighting the emotion and hear the message, then it's like, okay, you got the message. Peace out. I'm going to drive the truck away and you get on with your day. So I just want to add that about the emotions because I think that's important.
I love that so very much, because whenever anybody says only high vibes, I'm like, no, that's not going to work.
That's right.
Or people call it spiritual bypassing or whatever it is we can't not turn toward what it is that is getting triggered inside of us. We can. I guess we can, but we can't if we want a clear intuitive channel.
Right.
So I love that you said that. Look toward it.
It's just,
get the message.
Yep, get the message. And then you can return to a clear channel. Every time you say high vibes, that's what I think, a clear channel, a clear, which isn't so heavy. Like what you talked about with the field, or the divine frequency, that's not matter. MATTER, like from physics, right? Our physical matter is more dense. That's why it has physical matter, right?
Yeah.
The rest of it is so light, right? Like you don't see satellite signals, you don't see your cell phone signal, but you know that it's there. It's operating at a different frequency, literally.
That's right. That's right.
Yeah, so good. So emotions, density.
Emotions, physical body. What are some other blocks that you personally
well, as we know, I'm in my head most of the time. That's my piece. That one of the simplest blocks, which sounds so obvious, is I forget to set the intention. Like I forget, it's like if I set an intention, can I expect surprises? Can I set an intention to be connected to my intuition? That changes us. But sometimes, my feet hit the floor and I'm off running for the day and, thinking about what needs to happen. And I sort of get swept up. And so just simply forget. And then something smacks me upside the head in a bad way, and I'm like, "Oh yeah, I forgot to set that intention."
Yes,
so that's
I
one.
love that. But what I also know about you, because you and I have talked about this, that is similar to me, that is exactly the same as me, is when we are in session, we always remember. Right?
Absolutely.
Because it's like session triggers for us this place where the channel gets clear. As we sit in those chairs, or as we get on the phone, or as we get on the computer with someone, like that is like you said, that is like an immediate, for me, unconscious intention that everything goes. I actually, on the days that I'm having a hard day, I'll be like, I'm so glad I have clients.
Yes.
Because I get to get out of my own way and remind myself and ground myself and clear my channel. So I love that. That is a reminder for me.
And it what you're talking about really points to the ritual that I don't think
Yes.
we as therapists talk about as much, or as
Hmm.
intuitives, but we should be. Like when part of when I'm doing sessions of any sort, there is a very clear I'm shifting from just Angela to therapist Angela or
That's
soul
right.
coach Angela or whatever.
Yes.
And there is a shifting, but it's intentional. And
Yes.
so when I'm batting 500, right? I do that for myself in the morning, and I have a
That's
place in
right.
my house where most of the time I have time to sit, light a candle, do some reading, kind of get in that space. But there's something about the ritual that changes your state and opens, because of the intention, I think, opens the channel.
And I love that we're talking about this because the reason a lot of us need ritual and
Mhm.
intention, and I would say most of us do, some things. It could even be small, right? Just by looking at a book title, something
Yeah.
could trigger your intention or the reminder to
Mhm.
connect with the sixth sense. Is
Mhm.
that we live in a society that we've talked about this, but we're going to
Mhm.
drill this one in because we live in a society that doesn't value it. It's beginning to a little bit more, but honestly, it's
Mhm.
not the thing that we talk about much. We don't super value it. It's not a priority for people. And I was thinking
Right.
about this too, Angela, like when do we go from kids, speaking to our children and saying, how do you feel about that, to
Mhm.
how do you think about that?
Oh,
Right?
that's a
There's that.
great question.
So I'm thinking
Yeah.
about conditioning, right? There's all this
Mhm.
social conditioning that we need to unravel, that I help work with clients all the time in my practice about
Mhm.
unraveling all the conditioning and the devaluing of this sixth sense that we are all born with. And so when you talk about ritual and we
Yeah.
talk about our things, foods in movement and all these things,
Mhm.
it's all because we're sort of salmon swimming upstream, trying to remember this very, very um, innate thing that we all
Right.
have and all have access to. So,
No, that's right.
but because we do, this is a really important thing that we're talking about, right? And
Yeah.
learning how to
Yeah.
unravel and just becoming aware of the
Mhm.
social conditioning that we had
Mhm.
around intuition in that
Yeah.
space. Yeah.
The other thing that I notice, and I'm doing much better at this, but is just the level of distraction. Especially like cell phones. Um, I was walking my dog. I told you this story, but I was walking my dog the other day, and where we live, there's a bus stop right close on our street, and so I was stopped at a stoplight with the dog, and I look up and I can see inside the bus, and every person's head on that bus was turned down, and they were all looking at their screens. Yep, just flat out looking at their screens. And I thought that's part of the problem, because when we're distracted, there's no room for wandering, like
That's right.
mindly wandering, looking, seeing signs like we talked about last time, or,
That's
seeing
right.
synchronicities. If I'm completely distracted all the time, there's no quiet for anything to drop in.
That's exactly right.
Yeah.
And I was thinking of this story when I was in the airport. I had to spend a bunch of hours in there, and I made a pact with myself
Mm.
that I was not going to have my phone out at all. And so
Oh,
I was telling you this before we got on, but
yeah.
I was walking around the airport and I felt like I was in a secret club with a very few people. And there was this young gentleman who was pushing someone in a wheelchair. He was working at the airport, and he looked up and he was almost startled to see
Because you
me,
actually
like,
met his
look.
eyes.
Yes, I met his eyes. We had this
Ah,
nice smile, this nice exchange, and it was like we were in a secret club. And
wow.
I had some lovely, beautiful moments, and I felt so deeply, clearly connected
Hmm.
to the divine in the airport, not on
Yeah.
my phone, like I was doing something superhuman. It was
Hmm.
that speaks to me that I need to get off my phone way more. But
Yeah.
also reminded me the power of connection, the power of intention, looking
Yes.
around
Yeah.
and really being mindful. And we're going to drill this in over the course of our many episodes,
Hmm.
is is to really become intentional about what we let in,
Yeah. Yeah.
whether
And
it's
where we
computers.
focus
Yep.
our attention.
That's right.
Because I focused attention is another one of our superpowers.
Yes.
Where we choose to place our attention changes the way our brain is wired, changes what gets in. And I think as therapists, as healers, as people that do this kind of work, we're sort
Hmm.
of, when we make eye contact, we're connecting to that higher part of the other person. Like, I can't tell you, and
Yes.
I'm sure you've had this too, when I'm working in session with couples, I'll say they'll be talking, and I have these swivel chairs, and I'll say, "Can you look at your partner when you're saying that?" And
Yes.
and we'll end up having this conversation about how often they're in the same house, but never actually looking at each other because somebody's in one room, somebody's in another room. But we miss so much and we misinterpret so much when we're not actually making eye contact, which goes right back to what you're saying. If I put my phone down in the airport, in the grocery store, on the bus, heaven forbid we make community.
That's right.
Have a connection, feel safe.
That's right.
Yeah.
Above my desk, I'm looking right at it. It's a
Hmm.
little blue sticky, and I have moved this little sticky from when I started being a therapist in my early 20s. And it says to be seen, to be known, and to be understood. And that is the
Ah,
foundation of what we
yeah.
all deeply desire and
Yeah.
need. And
Yeah.
also, so as intuitives and as a soul coach, that is what I do for people,
Hmm.
but also I love that you said as we move through the world, we can do that for each other.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
to
Because
see
that's
someone.
what makes us feel safe and connected,
That's
which
right.
is hardwired into us. And when
Yes.
we don't, right, that's what gets us to all the trouble of fear, right? Anybody that's different from me, I have to be afraid of. And if I don't look at them, then they're different. Just
Yes. The
all of that.
othering thing.
Yeah, all the
Yes.
othering. That's right.
Yep.
That's
Yep.
right.
I
Yeah.
love that.
Well, what other things? What have we missed?
What have we missed? The only thing I can really think of, we've talked a little bit about social conditioning. I think as therapists, both you and I
Hmm.
would agree that unresolved, unhealed emotions,
Mm.
and they could be at an unconscious, subconscious
Hmm.
level,
Hmm.
would get in the way. And I think a lot of people recognize that, think they don't know how to move through those blocks, and sort of give up
Yeah.
that they can't be connected to their intuition. But
Yeah. That's
wouldn't you say? And so,
absolutely. Yeah.
yeah, and those can be blind spots, or they can be awarenesses that you have around emotions that, or
Hmm.
big T, little t traumas that you haven't healed. But I want to say that you don't have to fully heal something, an unresolved emotion, in order to be able to connect to your intuition. But I would do, as you suggested in the beginning of this talk, Angela, is
Hmm.
turn, instead of looking away and trying to
Right.
bury it, look toward. If you have an awareness of what the emotion, and if you
Mhm.
don't, that's why therapists are great, coaches are
Mhm.
great, soul
Yeah.
coaches are great,
Yep.
intuitives are great, psychics are great. They can help you see those blind spots so that when you can move the energy through those stuck places within your body,
Mhm.
you will have a more direct access to and a clearer channel for your intuition.
Yeah, and doing that with so much compassion because all of those, quote unquote blocks are protective parts of us or adaptive strategies that we took on to try to keep ourselves safe at a
Yes,
time when the outside world wasn't doing that for us.
that's
And
right.
so I find when I'm able to help my clients and myself see it that way, again, it's not that I'm broken, I'm flawed, I did it wrong. It's I have these strategies I've been using, ways and patterns that I show up in the world with that aren't helping me anymore. And actually, they're sort of keeping me stuck. But think about it, like you might have developed some of these blocks, these trauma blocks or ways to disconnect from your emotion because at the time it wasn't safe for you to be in that place,
That's
right? If
right.
you were really connected to your intuition and those around you didn't understand, you might have gotten in trouble for that. You might have
Mhm.
gotten humiliated for that. You might have, uh,
Yeah,
you learn to shut it off is my
that's
point.
right.
So you can learn to turn it back on, recognizing
That's
you turned
right.
it off for a reason. Or
Yes,
turn down the pilot light. Let me say that again because it's never gone. It's like the pilot light. Like what you said at the
yes.
beginning. If you have a
Yeah.
pulse, you have
Yeah.
intuition, right?
You have
It's
intuition.
the pilot light might get turned down a little bit, but it's always on because you're still alive. So
I
we're just
love
trying
that.
to help people turn it back up.
That is exactly right. And to really emphasize, please, this is not a an overwhelming effort. This
Right.
can be done step by baby step, and also even a baby step can make a huge impact. Right?
Yeah.
I don't want people to. You sent me this Instagram reel. Oh, this morning it was so funny. It was a guy in a truck, and what was it, Angela? He just.
It said, "Do you want me to trust my gut? You mean that same gut that made me poop my pants this morning?"
He said, "No way."
Right.
Right?
No way.
And I laughed, and I was like, that is so honest and
Right.
so real, right? Like,
Right.
because as we know, the foundation of this, what we spoke about in the last episode, is trust. Is
Right.
trusting
That's right.
ourselves. And so what is getting in the way of trusting ourselves? Sometimes it's our body,
Yeah.
sometimes it's our emotions, sometimes it's the social conditioning, sometimes it's,
Mhm.
all these things we talked about.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
The last thing I want to say that about what gets in the way is overthinking, which I'm raising my hand because of course that's me.
Me
But
too.
but the interesting thing is, and it gets right into what you were just saying, Martha, in that it doesn't have to be that hard, and it's our human thinking parts, the ones that have to operate in the world, that make it hard, right? Because they're trying so hard to help
Yes.
us. They're like, if you just read this, if you just do this, if you just, chant
Yeah.
in this way or light that candle or
That's
smell
right.
this, whatever.
Yeah.
And it's I finally worked enough with my parts to go, oh, this isn't yours to do. Like, you can't get there from here because you're on a different channel, and you're never going to be able to be on that other channel because that's not your lane.
That's
That's not your lane,
right.
right? So
I
so
love
I
that.
have parts that are great at making it harder than it needs to be. And then when I remember it's harder than it needs to be because the ones that are equipped to hear aren't the ones actually in the lead in this moment, right? When I've set the intention and I'm in that place to hear through the ritual, through the whatever I've done, then my thinking, overthinking, thinking, analyzing, problem solving parts can sort of take a break. I joke with my clients. I'm like, tell that part to go out and smoke a cigarette, and then we'll do the rest of the work. We still do that, but right? Can those just chill out for a minute and let us work in a different space?
That's so beautiful. And I think I know, both of us being trained in internal family
Yeah.
systems, is the reason I was so drawn to this 25 years ago or whatever when I got my trainings was because of what you said a few minutes ago. Was all of our parts are really trying to be of service and help us and keep us safe, keep our
That's
systems
right.
in balance, right?
Yeah.
Like, the foundation of it is, so all of these things that we're calling blocks are getting in the way. If we can just go, oh my gosh, I love you anyway,
Yes.
like, eventually, right? Like, I know I don't ask anybody to go directly to loving your parts, but if you can only even this small tiny shift in your perspective about what's a block is, and you can look at it and begin to sort of get curious about it in a way that you understand it has a history of serving you and really trying
That's right.
to, like, support you. It
Yeah.
kind of is a game changer
Well, it's
for everything.
this was, what I beat into my graduate students was, it's what's the function of the symptom, right? Every
Yes.
symptom, every whatever we're experiencing has a function. It is trying to help us in some way,
Yes.
right? So rather than going, I want to get rid of this anxiety, I want to get rid of this depression, I want to get rid of this, OCD or whatever it is. Can you imagine? And that's a great exercise. Can you imagine what's its function? Right? It's
Yeah.
serving, it's there for a reason. It may
Reason.
no longer be a good reason, or it might have a story or reason that it's doing what it's doing that's no longer accurate. But at one point in time, it was absolutely serving a survival function.
That's right.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. It's just so powerful when you can anchor that in,
Mm-hmm.
and
Yeah.
kind of befriend your internal system in that way. It really shifts
Yeah.
everything. And it helps with the intuitive channel, because the more
Right.
compassion, more curiosity, when I turn my awareness and my compassion and curiosity toward my internal system. Let's say this morning I was angry and I turned it toward that. I could feel it soften,
Yes.
and I could feel my energy and my frequency lighten. And I knew if I were to be asked to do an intuitive reading or check in with my intuition, it would have been much clearer than it would have been before that. So I think this blend of IFS and intuition that we're talking about is such a beautiful companion, not model, but
Oh, yeah.
partnership.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Well, should we move into the tool of the
Yes.
week?
Yeah, because we're talking about the human body, the energy body of the human body being so dense. We thought we would give you the exercise this week of really paying attention to listening to what your body is telling you that it needs. So maybe you wake up and you go for a run every morning. Well, what if you were to wake up and listen instead of doing your autopilot thing or yoga or whatever you do, which is wonderful. But just this week, I want you to listen in. What does my body want to do? What is my intuitive channel that is connecting me to my body, my physical dense body, telling me what it needs? You can do the same thing with food.
I like
You
that.
could do the same thing with when is it time to go to sleep? Maybe I always go to sleep at 10 or 11. Like my husband texted me this morning, he's in Chicago, and he said, I listened to my body, I listened to my intuition. And he said, I crawled in bed at 8 because he had not been sleeping well. And he just said it was a game changer, right? Like, so let's listen to our bodies, what our bodies want us to do. Foods, sleep, movement. Yeah.
I love that. And to do that, at least for me, I notice I have to get the shoulding parts of me. Well, you should eat this, or you should do that run, or you should go to bed at this time. And when I can let that one relax back a little bit, and then, as you say, tune into what does my body actually need.
Yes.
It just is like another step to get past that first gatekeeper of the intellect and what I should be doing versus what my body needs.
I love that. And you will inevitably come upon shoulds if you were raised into
if you are
this
human,
culture.
yes.
If you're a human body, there will be like, oh my gosh, I have only half an hour and I got to get it all in. And this is always going to get my heart rate up the fastest, right? You're like,
especially if you're a woman, right? You're going to have way more shoulds.
Exactly.
That's another episode.
That is right. Yes, but to pay attention to the shoulds that jump in, right? And get to know them and turn your attention to them and just, acknowledge them.
Excellent.
I love that. All right. And then we have a question from a listener this week. What you got?
Okay, so here's a question from our listener, Neil, who's in Jacksonville. And Neil wrote, if you follow your intuition and the outcome is negative, is that still intuition? In other words, is intuition always right? And he put right in quotes. Isn't that a great?
Okay, Neil, thank you so much.
Yes.
Neil, that is such a great question because I talked about this little, I don't know what episode, maybe first or second, but often always our intuition gives us what we need, not necessarily what we want or what our brain thinks is right or not right.
Yes.
Right. So it's not a meter. Intuition is not a meter of right or wrong, in terms of what your intellect thinks. Your intuition is going to lead you to your highest and best outcome. That would be my answer. What would you say?
I love that. I would absolutely echo that. I was putting in air quotes the right. What if it didn't turn out right? And my thought is, what your ego said that wasn't right. Your intellect said that's not what I wanted, or it didn't go the way I thought it was supposed to go.
Yes.
And then to your point, when you can zoom out, like give it a few days, give it a few weeks, whatever, it's usually exactly what you needed, as you said, even if it's not what you wanted or what you expected. So really letting go of this, what I thought I wanted, what I thought I needed, notice the thinking.
That's
as
right.
Opposed to, can I really let go to the attachment to the outcome? And that doesn't mean I don't care how it's going to go. It means, can I trust that however it went is the way it was supposed to go?
That's exactly right. I was telling you, on one of the episodes where I made the decision to move to Santa Fe, and the whole family was so upset, right? We told them we were staying. And it was so, on the surface, so turbulent, but deep down, I could feel that.
Yeah.
Knowing that this was the right move. Now, I can't always tap into that deeper sense of knowing. Often I can, but a lot of times I can't. But I do, and I think it's important that we, just like you said, we're trusting that this is the best, this is what your soul needed for its growth. I talk a lot about soul's growth, and that is not always pretty or comfortable or pleasant or something we want even.
That's right. But that's what the soul signed up for.
That's exactly
This
right.
go around.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah. All right.
Yeah.
All right.
Woo! Another one.
I think we got it.
Thank you so much, Angela. And listeners, this has been, we are having a ball doing this and getting all sorts of great feedback. So please send us questions that you may have about connecting to your intuition, or any questions you may have about intuition to, what's our?
Yes, we have an email address, and it is literally theintuitivevoice@gmail.com.
Yay. All right.
So send us questions there, theintuitivevoice@gmail.com.
Awesome.
And we will see you next week.
See you next week.
Bye.
Bye.